Leslee basically is a super mom. She has 3 teenage boys.
Wow. Bless your heart.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing having all boys, but you know,
Yes.
being a teenage boy once, I know I was struggle for my mom at times. Leslie's originally from Greensboro, North Carolina, and she received a master's in acupuncture from the Maryland University of Integrative Health. It's a mouthful, but I know she's going to explain what that exactly means and what she does. In a way, I kind of consider Leslee a sensei too, which just literally means teacher. She goes out of her way to make sure people know what they're doing. And she owns Gate of Hope Acupuncture. How long have you been there?
I'm in Indiana. It's been open for 5 years.
5 years, okay. So here in Indiana, so 5 years, 2017, something like that, 2016. Leslie's mission is to help clients create a lifestyle that they make to consciously choose to live a healthy lifestyle, to be inspired to themselves, their families, and an example to others that maybe she doesn't know. And I can tell you from experience, when I was dropping on my weight, I lived in a fishbowl. I mean, if I didn't eat something right or I missed the workout, what's going on? Why are you working out? Why are you eating that stuff? And, she helps people figure that out, and when they are in a fishbowl, they're actually taking care of themselves and believe in self-care. Leslie's equally visionary. She has a very cool visionary statement, much like Marvin does, and she will tell you that she has a needle for that. So with that, everybody, Leslee Walker.
Thank you. Appreciate all of you staying. Thank you. People, hopefully they're just in the bathroom, right? So I am Leslee Walker. My company is Integrative Health Acupuncture. I have a master's degree in acupuncture. It's a 3-year program. I was on the fast track, so it's kind of like taking in knowledge with a fire hose. It was a tremendous experience, and I couldn't recommend it enough for anybody who was remotely thinking about it. Today I would like to share a story with you. And I just love all the history that you're getting today. And we're going to time travel a little bit. We're going to go back in time. And like any good story, it starts with once upon a time, a long time ago, in several states very far away from here, in a place very warm, very much warmer than here. In a place called North Carolina. As Brian told you, I grew up in North Carolina. Once upon a time, there was a landscape designer. She spent her days planting heavy trees, large bushes, and making all of the land of her clients beautiful. And one day, doing nothing particularly special, her back started hurting. And she went to the doctor, like most people would. They ran every test known to man and said, "There's nothing wrong with you. You're fine." But she couldn't walk without limping. She had a stabbing pain in her lower back, and the muscle relaxers and the painkillers weren't working. So she decided she had enough of that, and she decided she would go to an acupuncturist. Not a chiropractor who takes an x-ray of your back and can help you. She wants to go to an acupuncturist. So after about 2 or 3 months, she noticed that she could walk straighter, she could sit down without pain, she could get up without pain, and she realized that she was able to go to work, she could resume all of her functions. And one day on the way out, she said, "By the way, does this work for migraines?" And the acupuncturist said, "Yes, of course." So she said, "Well, my daughter has migraines, and she misses a lot of school. And I want to introduce you to our daughter." And I had a lot of migraines. I missed school. I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. I ran track, I was in soccer, I was in theater. I hoped, but I didn't know from day to day if I was going to make it. Because I was curled up in my bed asleep, because I had to avoid the pain. So she took me at 15 to go see an acupuncturist. So I started, I had no expectations. There was this petite, tiny little woman who didn't really talk a lot. And I had no idea what she was doing, putting all these needles in. It didn't hurt. And after a couple weeks, she finally said, you know, if you ever, jokingly, want to get your foot pierced, there's this point right here that you should do. And I went, okay, why? And she said, well, you have a lot of heat in your system, and we need to bring it down, because it's trapped in your head. Okay, so 15, all right, what can I do with that? We're in the South, it is miserably hot. When you look out in the, you know, into the woods and everything, you see the water hanging in the air in the South. It is hot. You get in your car in the summer, just like here, it's 2,000 degrees. So trying to get away from the heat as a teenager in the South in the summer is really not feasible. But I thought, okay, if you've got a lot of heat, what do you need to do? What can you do to help? So I'm like, okay, I don't have a pool, so I can't be in the water, but maybe I can drink fluids. So I decided that I would start drinking a lot of fluids. And I'm from the South, we love our tea. So I would go to McDonald's and I'd get the sweet tea. I know. And it helped a little bit. And I realized though with the heat, I started getting nauseous. And I couldn't figure out why I was getting so nauseous. And then I said, okay, well maybe it's the sugar, because I'm okay until I drink that. And then, so I went and I said, okay, give me half sweet tea. And that seemed to do better. And then as the seasons progressed and I started track, and I tried to drink my tea, it wasn't working anymore, because I got nauseous again because I was getting so high. So I decided to suck it up as a teenager and drink water. All my friends are in McDonald's with their sodas and, you know, everything, and I get my water. So I slowly start realizing that the sinuses, I don't know if you're aware that the South is the #1 allergy area of the country. If you have allergies, they will flare beyond your imaginations in the South, because everything blooms in the spring. I mean, we've got grass that blooms, trees that bloom, flowers, everything's up. It's gorgeous. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world to be in the springtime. It is murder on these things right here. So I noticed when I started drinking more fluids that my sinuses were much clearer. And that drainage that I was getting was much clearer, and it wasn't that good yellow stuff anymore. And so I started feeling better, because that was one of the triggers for me to get a headache. And if I got a headache, I'd get a migraine. So I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I didn't know that. And so I got a few less headaches, I think, from that, which means I got a few less migraines. So I'm like, okay, I'm on a roll. So now if I drink my water, and what can I do about heat? Because I'm still outside and I still like to do things. And about this time, I was in a youth group, and one of our favorite things to do was play volleyball outside in a sand pit. And my best friend's little sister was a champion volleyball player. Her team went to state. And so all the boys wanted to play her, but they couldn't take her one-on-one. So they said, okay, we'll do 2-man. And she's like, sure. Okay, it's gonna be girls versus guys. Leslie, you're with me. And I'm like, okay, let's do that. So we beat them into submission in 3-game solid, and there was no way they were coming out of that. And then everybody had a great time. They went to dinner, talked about it. I went home for a migraine. And I said, okay, this isn't okay. Can't do this. So the next time we had a meet, I played 1 game of 2-man, 2 games of 6-man, and I made it to dinner. I was musical, magical,
Sorry about that,
phenomenal.
Sorry
I
about
made it to
that.
dinner with my friends.
I'm
It was
sorry,
cool.
sweetheart. I'm sorry.
So I was learning how to take care of myself. And in my practice, I make people, I help them find tools to take care of themselves. So this is my tool chest I was building, 15. So the first thing I built, what was my first tool?
Water.
Water, right. What was my second tool?
Morning meditations.
I have to change my behaviors.
Wow.
So I didn't get to play the 2-man volleyball, but whoops, but I made it to dinner. And that was really important to me. So slowly I started making changes, and by the time that came around, I was doing much better. I was making it to all my practices. I was making it to all the sand volleyball games. And then school started, and I went to try out for theater. And so I was singing on stage for my audition to see where they wanted to put me. And they had these blinding lights into my eyes. and it was getting really warm. And so by the time I finished my song, I had to go sit down. It was too much for me. And I had been doing well enough that I could drink a lot of water, and I could feel the headache coming on, but I drank enough and I stayed cool enough, and I fought it off. And I didn't get that migraine, and I knew it was coming. I was so excited. About that same time, my father says, hey, your uncle is an ophthalmologist, and we were talking, he said he needs you to come in, because we were talking about your migraines. He wants to check to see if your vision is in the right place, or if it's on, it might be triggering your migraines. And I went, okay, well that sounds reasonable. So I went in, and he did all the fun tests that they do when you puffs in my eyes. And at the end he said, Leslie, your vision is perfect. And I'm like, okay, great. And he says, but you have clouds on the outside of your cornea. And I don't know if you know what that means, but that means I was beginning to have cataracts at 16. And he said, because of your genetic heritage, you are susceptible to light, and it makes you more sensitive, which made so much more sense when I was on that stage. It felt like daggers in my face with the light. So he said, you never, ever, ever can go outside without sunglasses. And so my next tool was, so every family vacation, in front of every monument. So, but I have to admit, he said get polarized sunglasses, and I have to admit, the first time I put them on, the glare from the top of the car, the hood, it was gone. And I didn't even realize that was a problem. The water, everywhere I went, the water would come up, it would just kill me, and I knew it did, but I didn't realize wearing sunglasses would make a difference. So everywhere I went, it was hurting myself with the sun. So it made such a huge difference to me. So I had my third tool. So about this time, I'm going to, I'm in such a better place. I'm doing everything I want to. Everything is much better. But you know, life always manages to test you a little bit. So about this time, I'm heading off to college. So what is one of the major milestones that happens when you're in college? What? 21! Absolutely. There is a reason Native Americans call it firewater. Firewater. It goes in like fire. Now, if you remember what that acupuncturist said, I already have all this fire in this area. So how long do you think I made it? So I planned. You know, I've been getting good at this. I have a December birthday, Sagittarius, and I had an exam on my birthday. I had an exam the day after. So I said, okay, I'm going to hydrate on my birthday. I'm going to take friends to take me to a Mexican restaurant. We're going to have a good meal. I'm going to have my alcoholic beverage of choice because it's my right at 21, and I'm going to flash in my card. And I'm gonna drink my water. I followed my plan. I had a good dinner. I had 5 drinks. Oh, it's a zombie, Leslie, it's great. I drank some more. I remember going home. I remember getting in bed. I got up. I went to my exam the next day. I aced that exam, by the way. I felt really good. I thought I was great. I went to sleep. I woke up and I didn't get up. I was out. And to this day, I still can't drink alcohol. 2 days later, I'm going to have a headache. It doesn't matter how much I drink, how much water I drink, how much stretching I do. It doesn't matter.
Wow.
It doesn't matter. But I know this now, so I don't drink unless it's my really good friend's husband's sangria recipe that he bribed out of a bartender in Spain. That's the only one I drink. So that's my other lesson that I've learned. And finally, as I'm still growing older and still discovering new things, I was substituting at a clinic in Broad River, and she was pregnant and broke her foot. So she was bedridden and needed somebody to come help. So I took over her practice, and it ended up being about 1.5 years. And one night I was just really tired, and I stopped in at my favorite Chinese place, and I got my favorite dish, and I ate half of it, saving the next for breakfast the next day. And then the next morning I got up, and I had just that little bit of something. And I'm like, oh, okay, we'll just drink it, it'll go away. And as the day wore on, so did that pain. And I couldn't figure out what I'd done. I hadn't been in the heat. I hadn't drunk any alcohol. I hadn't been playing volleyball. And the only thing I had changed was that Chinese food. And I called them and I said, have you changed the recipe? And they said, we changed ours. They had changed the recipe to a powder they coated the chicken in, covered in MSG. I ended up getting the receptionist to do cupping across my shoulders to try to pull some of that headache out. And I had clients kind of look at me like, girlfriend, are you sure you shouldn't be on this table? But I made it through the day, went back, and we had a big talk about my Chinese food. And so I have now found an alternate way to eat my favorite Chinese food by not having so much of that in it. So I am still learning how to take care of the body that I was issued at birth. We all write our own manuals. So that was that's my journey on how I got where I am. So I am pretty much migraine free now, unless I do really silly things like pick blueberries in 100-degree weather on July 4th. It was worth it. It was worth it. So I want to challenge each one of you, because I am the key to my health. And I want to challenge each one of you to be the key to your health, because you can do it. You know your body better than anybody else. You know, when you come in and you talk to me, I ask you for an hour, what's going on in your system? What do you do? How do you do it? What goes right? What goes wrong? And so I want you to be the key to your own health. So I am going to give you a key today, and it has a little hole to put on your keychain, so that you can remember that you are the key to your own health. Okay?
Oh, it's real.
So here's a few. Pass them on. So I help people find the tools for their toolbox. I'm going to put the keys. But I want you to be the key. We are all the keys to our own health. Yes, every one of them is different, because we are all different. Okay, I'm going to keep this one for you.
Thank you. Oh, that's sick.
Making the right choices. And you're living the most full life that you can. And that's what this is all for. Is so that we can do all the things we want to do and never be limited by a physical constraint. And that's what I hope every one of my clients can achieve. And that's why I hope they're coming in, is because they see a vision for something they can do with their health. I mean, if you just want to sit on the couch and watch television, stay there. But if you want to do something, experience life to the most full, then be your own key. Thank you.
A pleasure.
All right, anybody have questions?
I've got a million questions about acupuncture because I've seen it all these years, but the thing about it is the skill, more of a comment, the level of skill that you have to possess to initiate, such healing from these needles is just immense. I mean, that's I guarantee that me and a needle probably not going to have the same results. Right? I mean, I'm more of a hammer and nail kind of guy. So that's the level of finesse that it takes to do that. I mean, that's awesome.
So where did you go for the 3-year program?
So it is now called the Maryland University of Integrative Health.
Okay.
So did you ever get that piercing on your foot?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
But let me tell you, the day they gave me those needles in my acupuncture school, I went and triggered every one of them. Every one of them. I went dancing for like 10 hours. I drank, but you can never drink enough to cover that. I was in bright spotlights. I had the best time ever. I came home, I sat on the couch, I put my needles in. I woke up with no headache.
You put your own needles in?
Yes. Well, it's either, you feel like you have a migraine where where somebody shot something in your head and miraculously you're still alive, or little tiny pinpricks, and as soon as they're in, you don't feel anything. I wake a ton of people up on the table, because once they go in, you're very relaxed, and I work on the table just like Tony does, and people fall asleep all the time.
I can see that.
I could believe that.
What noises are made on the table, stay in them.
So how long did you have to do that? for
It was
your-
a 3-year program.
A 3-year program, and your migraines eventually went away?
Yes.
So that's.
And you've been practicing for how long now?
I graduated in the year 2000.
So did you move back to the warm place?
I did for a little while. I did, and then I moved out and have now lived on both sides of the country, and now I decided I needed to be in the middle of the country. But yes, I did move back for a little while. I was not fond of the heat then either.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not something I can acclimate to apparently.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you, remember we talked the last time,
Yes.
I was in on the meeting?
Mhm.
So what is the difference between using needles and without needles? What's the difference?
So are you saying with the needles and with acupressure?
Yeah, acupuncture.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that place over there, Glendale. They
Mhm.
do it without.
Right. They're hitting the same the same places I do, but I can tell the energy which way to go, and they can't. They have to sit there and hold it and hope it's doing what they want it to.
Mm.
I put the needle in and I tell it to do what I want it to.
Wow. So you open them sockets up there.
I am not doing chakras, I am opening energetic pathways.
Okay, let me check the pathway.
So I work on the meridian system,
Yeah, I know.
and my job is to move the energy.
Mm.
So I tell it to move or I tell it to build.
So you can open up, circulation areas in
Yes.
the body,
Yes.
where one has inflammation and all that.
Absolutely, yes.
Wow.
Because all of my systems deal with everything in the body, so I can pull out inflammation, which is probably the number one thing I do. It doesn't matter if it's jaw pain, arthritis, back pain, inflammation from a damage from a knee injury, taking inflammation out is probably the number one thing I do.
So what's the session? I mean, how long is the session?
So usually my sessions are 1 hour, but when you come in as a new client, it's a 2-hour session. So the first hour, I want to hear the whole story, we talk for a whole hour, and then the second hour is a needle treatment.
Wow, okay.
And then follow-ups are 1 hour, and we just build from there.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you ever been able to work with any like healthcare providers or whatever to actually get any of the services covered through insurance? How does that work?
No, there are some companies that will cover like 12 treatments in a year. Medicare is supposed to cover low back pain, but I haven't seen that happen yet. Mostly, if you have to have a different, I have one of my classmates was a chiropractor, so somehow he got his treatments covered under insurance, but none of the rest of us can. So usually Acupay doesn't. I've gotten Anthem to pay $12.80 on somebody's treatment.
If you need to write a description for it,